The Galactic Council chamber floated at the heart of neutral space, a hollow sphere of light and silence where gravity was optional and fear was not. Representatives from 1,000 species occupied their assigned platforms, bodies wrapped in silk, scales, vapor, or metal. At the center hovered the council seal, pulsing with ancient authority. Every civilization knew this place. Every civilization obeyed it. Today, the chamber convened for a single matter. Earth. Humanity's name moved through the chamber like a faint irritation, something small that had refused to heal. High Arbiter HFY extended his upper limbs, signaling order. His voice carried without volume, amplified directly into neural translators. "The session is now bound," he announced. "We address continued human noncompliance." A projection ignited, showing Sol's star and its surrounding planets. Earth glowed blue, deceptively fragile. HFY's antennae twitched with restrained disdain. 7 warnings issued. 7 compromises offered. Humanity has rejected every corrective measure. Several counselors shifted uneasily. Others remained amused. No one looked concerned. HFY continued, Earth was admitted under provisional tolerance. Limited expansion. Restricted armament. Observed behavior. He paused, letting the words settle. Instead, humans fortified. They mined forbidden zones, encrypted their research, and withheld military transparency. A crystalline delegate interjected softly, "They claim it is for defense." HFY rotated toward the speaker. "Every species claims defense before it demands dominance." Agreement rippled through the chamber. The Arbiter's tone sharpened. "Thus, we deliver the final warning." The transmission was sent without ceremony. Across the void, it reached Earth within seconds, translated into every human language simultaneously. The message was precise: dismantle planetary defenses, submit fleet command to Council oversight, accept permanent inspection authority. Noncompliance would trigger enforcement. On Earth, the message appeared in command centers, city screens, and private terminals. Panic did not follow. Debate did not erupt. Instead, the information flowed upward, filtered, condensed, and delivered to one place. Admiral Elias Rowan stood alone in the deep command vault beneath Geneva. The room was bare, carved from bedrock and reinforced with layers never disclosed to off-world inspectors. Rowan listened without visible reaction. His face was lined, not from age, but from years of decisions that never made headlines. When the transmission ended, silence lingered. A junior officer finally asked, "Sir, do we respond immediately?" Rowan shook his head once. "No. We respond correctly." He turned toward a dormant console, its surface dark, its existence officially denied. Minutes later, the council chamber received Earth's reply. No anthem. No symbols. Just a single human figure framed against a neutral background. Rowan met the Arbiter's gaze through the projection. His voice was steady, unadorned. "The Council's terms have been reviewed," he said. "Earth declines compliance." HFY blinked, unprepared. "You misunderstand," the Arbiter replied sharply. "This is not negotiation." Rowan nodded. "We understand perfectly." The transmission ended. No flourish. No explanation. For a moment, the chamber was silent. Then disbelief surfaced as murmurs, clicks, and chemical flares. HFY recovered first. "They bluff," he declared. "They always do at this stage." A militarized avian delegate folded its wings. "Their infrastructure suggests otherwise." HFY dismissed the concern with a gesture. "Authorize sanctions. Position a demonstration fleet. A reminder will suffice." The council seal pulsed in agreement. Orders propagated outward, precise and confident. Earth would be shown its place. Back on Earth, Rowan watched confirmation signals scroll across the hidden console. Long-dormant assets acknowledged wake commands. Installations beyond mapped space aligned silently. Human fleets did not mobilize, they synchronized. Rowan allowed himself a single breath. He remembered earlier warnings, earlier losses, treaties broken with smiles intact. Humanity had learned slowly, painfully, and completely. He keyed a private channel. Archive 0 is active, he said. Proceed as planned. Somewhere far from Sol, something old and patient adjusted its orbit. As Council fleets accelerated toward human territory, their sensors recorded anomalies they could not yet classify. Minor discrepancies. Timing errors. Background noise that refused to resolve. Analysts blamed calibration. No one halted the advance. In the chamber, HFY observed the data with satisfaction. They will submit once they see our shadow, he assured the assembly. No one noticed the brief flicker that crossed the council seal. No one questioned why Earth had not protested. Deep beneath Earth's surface, Rowan stood as lights awakened across the vault. Systems older than alliances came online, each one built with a single principle in mind. Survival through remembrance. He watched the countdown reach 0, then pressed nothing at all. Humanity did not need permission. It did not need approval. It only needed confirmation that the line had been crossed. Above him, the planet turned peacefully. Below him, history prepared to speak. The first Council fleet translated from hyperspace at the edge of the Sol exclusion perimeter, exactly where Earth's compliance maps said it should be safe. 32 warships formed a ceremonial wedge, hulls polished, weapons dormant but ready. Their presence was meant to intimidate, not to fight. Sensors swept the system, confirming what the Council already believed: no visible human armada, no defensive surge, no panicked broadcasts. The flagship's commander exhaled in relief. They are waiting, he said. Good. Fear ripens quickly in young species. Then the stars shifted. It was subtle, almost dismissible. A fractional drift in stellar parallax. Navigation computers recalculated, then recalculated again. The fleet's formation tightened automatically, pilots correcting for phantom vectors. Report, the commander ordered. An aide hesitated. Our reference beacons are inconsistent. Gravity readings don't agree with background mass. The commander frowned. Interference? No signal source detected. Silence followed, heavy with unease. On Earth, Admiral Rowan observed the same moment through a different lens. Streams of data flowed across his displays, not chaotic, but exquisitely ordered. He spoke quietly to the room, though he was alone. They've crossed the boundary, he said. The system acknowledged without sound. Around Sol, objects the Council had catalogued as debris adjusted alignment by microns. Nothing visible changed. Everything essential did. The second fleet arrived hours later, reinforcing the first. Council command transmitted a formal demand for surrender, this time accompanied by a countdown. Earth did not answer. Instead, Council ships began losing contact with one another, not completely, just enough to disrupt coordination. Latency stretched. Commands echoed back distorted. A weapons officer whispered, "It feels like space is listening." The commander snapped, "Space doesn't listen." Yet his eyes never left the trembling readouts. Within the Galactic Council chamber, concern replaced amusement. HFY studied the incoming reports, antennae stiffening. "Explain the delays," he demanded. A technician replied, "Their system architecture doesn't match known models. Our probes can't maintain stable telemetry." A counselor murmured, "They're not jamming us. They're moving the environment." HFY rejected the idea instantly. Impossible. Environmental manipulation at that scale violates Council accords. Another voice answered, softer. So did mining forbidden zones. Rowan initiated the second phase without ceremony. Across distances the Council had declared uninhabitable, dormant human constructs activated. They were not ships in any traditional sense, no engines, no weapons arrays. They were anchors, embedded in spacetime, built from centuries of accumulated alien science and human adaptation. When they engaged, physics bent politely around them. Council vessels felt it as resistance, like swimming against a current that hadn't existed a moment before. A Council cruiser attempted to realign its jump drive. The system failed gracefully, then shut down entirely. Panic crept into voices. "We can't disengage. Our mass readings are fluctuating. Commander, weapons won't lock." The commander swallowed. "This is a demonstration," he insisted, more to himself than his crew. They wouldn't dare escalate. His words ended when a nearby frigate collapsed inward, not exploding, simply folding into a point of light before vanishing. No debris. No shockwave. Just absence. Earth still said nothing. The Council's third message was not a demand. It was an accusation. "Humanity," HFY declared, broadcasting across open channels, "you are in violation of interstellar law. Cease this action immediately." Rowan watched the transmission arrive, unencrypted, almost pleading beneath the authority. He allowed it to play in full, then muted it. He turned to the console that controlled nothing directly, only permissions. "Proceed," he said. The system required no further input. Council fleets began to fragment, not from damage, but from isolation. Each ship found itself alone, sensors blind beyond immediate range. Attempts to retreat failed as jump calculations returned null solutions. Space itself refused their equations. A surviving captain whispered to his crew, "We're inside a trap." No one contradicted him. The realization spread faster than fear. This was not retaliation. It was preparation completed long ago. In the council chamber, panic finally broke protocol. Delegates spoke over one another, chemical signals flaring wildly. HFY slammed his limbs against the dais. "Restore order," he commanded. A military analyst cut through the noise. "They're not targeting us. They're targeting our assumptions." HFY's voice faltered. "Assumptions of what?" The analyst answered, "That the Council defines reality." Rowan opened a narrow channel, addressed not to the chamber, but to every Council fleet simultaneously. His image appeared on damaged displays, steady amid distortion. "This is Admiral Elias Rowan," he said. "You were warned 7 times to leave our sovereignty intact. You ignored every boundary." He paused, letting translation buffers catch up. "Humanity does not seek conquest. We seek closure." A captain shouted through static, "You're killing us." Rowan's expression did not change. "No," he replied. "We're ending the argument." The transmission cut. Moments later, Council Command lost contact with all forward fleets. In their place, long-range sensors registered only silence and mathematical impossibilities. No explosions. No radiation spikes. Entire task forces had simply ceased to exist within measurable space. The chamber fell quiet, the kind born of shock rather than obedience. HFY stared at the empty projection where Earth's fleets should have been. For the first time in his long career, he understood fear, not of annihilation, but of irrelevance. On Earth, Rowan watched the final confirmations arrive. Phase 2 complete. He did not smile. He did not speak. Humanity's revenge was not fueled by anger, but by memory, sharpened into resolve. The galaxy had chosen to test a species that survived by adapting faster than its enemies could learn. Outside the vault, the planet continued its rotation, unaware that somewhere beyond its skies, the balance of power had already shifted beyond recovery. The Galactic Council citadel had never known stillness like this. Its corridors, once alive with overlapping languages and ritual motion, echoed only with system chimes and the faint hum of failing stabilizers. Delegates remained at their stations, unmoving, watching projections that no longer updated. Where entire fleets should have been, there was nothing. No debris fields. No energy signatures. Absence had become the message. High Arbiter HFY stood rigid at the center dais. His authority symbols flickered, struggling to maintain form as the Citadel's power grid destabilized. He spoke at last, voice stripped of ceremony. "Re-establish contact with any surviving assets." A technician answered without looking up. "There are none within reachable parameters." Another added, "Long-range sensors are compromised. The constants we rely on no longer align." HFY closed his eyes, a gesture he had never used in session. "Then open a channel to Earth." The connection took longer than protocol allowed. When it formed, Admiral Rowan appeared, framed by the same neutral background as before. No insignia. No triumph. Just a man who had already moved on from the moment the Council was still trying to grasp. HFY leaned forward. "You have made your point," he said. "This escalation threatens galactic stability." Rowan met his gaze. "Stability ended when you decided Earth was expendable." HFY's voice lowered. "You've crippled our defenses. Withdraw your constructs. We can renegotiate." Rowan shook his head slowly. "There is nothing left to negotiate." Around the Citadel, systems failed in sequence, precise and measured. Not all at once. Not chaotically. Gravity regulators weakened just enough to unsettle. Communication arrays desynchronized, rendering internal channels unreliable. The message was unmistakable: humanity was demonstrating restraint, not mercy. A counselor whispered, "They're dismantling us without firing a shot." Rowan's voice carried through the chamber. "You govern through fear," he said. "You maintained order by deciding who mattered. That era is finished." HFY's antennae sagged. "What do you want?" he asked. The question sounded small in the vast chamber. Rowan answered immediately. "Distance. Recognition. And silence." He gestured off-screen. "Your fleets will not return. Your enforcement arm will not be rebuilt. Species under your control are already receiving our archives, your treaties, your sanctions, your hidden wars." A murmur rose, sharp with panic. Rowan continued, "We are not replacing you. We are removing the threat you represented." A final alert pulsed through the Citadel. External power sources went dark. Emergency reserves engaged, then stabilized at minimal output. HFY looked around, seeing the truth settle across every delegate's posture. "You're erasing us," he said quietly. Rowan did not deny it. "We're ending your monopoly on consequence." The channel closed from Earth's side, not abruptly, but cleanly, as if the conversation had reached its natural conclusion. Across the galaxy, change arrived without spectacle. Council outposts lost authority overnight as client species discovered their overseers could no longer enforce commands. Navigation routes once patrolled by Council fleets went unguarded, then reopened under new agreements forged in urgency and hope. On countless worlds, leaders stared at the same recovered records, realizing how carefully their histories had been edited. Humanity did not appear to claim credit. It did not broadcast warnings. It simply withdrew to its borders and waited. On Earth, Rowan stood in the vault as the last status confirmations arrived. All objectives complete. All contingencies secure. He dismissed the displays one by one, returning the room to darkness. A subordinate's voice reached him over a secure line. "Sir, the Council Citadel has ceased external transmissions." Rowan acknowledged the report. "Understood." He remained still for a moment longer, then added, "Stand down all active systems. Maintain readiness." The line went silent. Weeks later, the Galactic Council Citadel drifted powerless in neutral space, a monument to a vanished order. No fleet came to reclaim it. No species stepped forward to inherit its throne. The absence of authority proved more profound than its presence had ever been. New alliances formed cautiously, built on memory rather than decree. In these early councils, one principle was repeated until it became doctrine: never assume humanity's limits are visible. On Earth, life continued without celebration. Cities woke, industries turned, children learned histories that no longer ended in submission. Rowan retired from command without ceremony, his name recorded but not elevated. He understood what humanity had become was not a myth to glorify, but a lesson others would remember. Far beyond Sol, explorers would later find regions where sensors still failed and mathematics stuttered. They would mark them on their charts and move on. Generations from now, when young civilizations asked why certain spaces were left undisturbed, elders would answer simply. That is where the Council learned restraint. No monuments bore humanity's name there. No warnings flashed. Only silence remained, deliberate, enduring, and unmistakably human. The galaxy did not collapse after the Council fell. That surprised everyone. Trade lanes adjusted first. Without Council tariffs and stability fees, merchant convoys rerouted freely, guided by necessity rather than permission. Some worlds prospered immediately. Others struggled, discovering how dependent they had been on enforced order. There were conflicts, small and sharp, but none escalated into empire-wide war. The fear that had once kept everyone aligned was gone, replaced by something slower and harder to control: choice. On the agrarian moon of Velis, an elder named Terran addressed a gathered assembly beneath an open sky. For centuries, she said, we obeyed voices that never walked our soil. She lifted a data slate, its surface glowing with recovered Council archives. They decided our limits for us. A young listener asked, who decides now? Terran answered without hesitation. We do. And we remember who made that possible. Similar conversations echoed across hundreds of systems. Humanity's name surfaced often, but always quietly, spoken with a mixture of caution and respect. Humans had not replaced the Council. They had not demanded tribute or allegiance. They had simply demonstrated that the old hierarchy could be broken, and then stepped away. That restraint unsettled many more than conquest ever could have. On Earth, the consequences unfolded inward rather than outward. Political blocs dissolved and reformed as old emergency powers expired. Defense budgets shrank, then stabilized at levels focused on readiness, not projection. The hidden constructs that had rewritten the rules of engagement were returned to dormancy, their existence classified beyond the reach of even most human governments. Humanity had learned the cost of visibility. Some tools were safer when remembered only by those who built them. Admiral Elias Rowan lived quietly near the sea, far from command bunkers and encrypted rooms. He walked each morning along the shore, watching waves erase their own patterns. A journalist once found him there and asked, "Do you regret how far it went?" Rowan considered the question longer than the reporter expected. "No," he said at last. "But I regret that it was necessary." The journalist pressed, "Would humanity do it again?" Rowan met her gaze. "Only if forced. That's the point everyone seems to miss." Far beyond Earth, fragments of the old Council attempted to reorganize. Former administrators gathered on distant stations, issuing statements about continuity and legitimacy. Few listened. Without fleets or enforcement, their words carried no weight. One such meeting ended abruptly when a delegate asked, "If we failed to stop them once, what makes you think they'd allow us to try again?" No one answered. The session dissolved shortly after. New coalitions emerged instead, built on mutual defense and shared transparency. Their charters often included a single, carefully worded clause: no collective authority could compel a member world to surrender sovereignty by force. The clause was debated fiercely, then adopted almost universally. Humanity never requested it. That made its inclusion unavoidable. Explorers eventually approached the regions where Council fleets had vanished. Probes returned incomplete data, corrupted by anomalies that resisted interpretation. Crews reported unease, a sensation of being observed by nothing at all. These zones were marked and avoided, not by law, but by consensus. Parents told their children stories of what happened when power assumed obedience was permanent. The stories changed with each retelling, but the warning remained intact. A decade after the Council's fall, a delegation arrived at Earth under a white beacon, requesting dialogue. They represented dozens of worlds, some former council members, others long suppressed. Their spokesperson spoke plainly. "We don't seek protection," she said. "We seek understanding." Earth's response was measured and open. Knowledge was shared. Boundaries were clarified. No alliances were demanded. When the delegation departed, they carried more caution than certainty, and that suited humanity just fine. In the quiet years that followed, historians struggled to categorize what had happened. Some called it a war without battles. Others named it the shortest revolution in recorded space. A few insisted it was an extinction event narrowly avoided. Rowan read none of the papers. Labels did not interest him. Outcomes did. One evening, standing again by the sea, Rowan received a secure message from an old colleague still embedded in deep space observation. "You might want to know," the message read. Long-range sensors show stabilized physics across former Council territory. No signs of rearmament. Rowan typed a brief reply. "Good." He hesitated, then added, "Keep watching." The ocean answered his pause with another wave, identical to none before it. Generations later, humanity's role faded from daily discourse, becoming background knowledge rather than legend. That, too, was intentional. Civilizations that endured did not need heroes forever present, they needed examples that could be recalled when necessary. When a rising power elsewhere began issuing ultimatums, advisors quietly referenced an old precedent. The ambition stalled. Dialogue replaced decree. In the end, the galaxy did not remember humanity for its weapons, nor for the council it dismantled. It remembered the lesson left behind, etched into absence rather than monument. Authority without accountability was fragile. Threats carried consequences beyond imagination. And some species, when pushed too far, did not shout their defiance. They answered once. Then they went silent.